Welcome to an accurate simulation of convenience store clerk.
Welcome to the grand opening of Vacation Island.
Do you think it's safe to break character now that the human's done everything?
I've got some papers I need you to shred. It has to be you for legal reasons.
I think Vacation Bot was just trying to get rid of me. Why wouldn't they want a vacation?
They were hidden after 2035 for safety reasons.
I think this bot's had a little too much juice.
Since the end of capitalism, exposure has been the only currency with value.
I fear this will send ripples of discord through the entirety of human-bot relations.
You must be one of us. It's dangerous to go alone.
Where is all this data going?
Bureau doesn't care about history. They need the metrics to work out.
Other large boats were only owned by the super wealthy.
I'm feeling like sharing my encrypted files with you.
Hi, my name is Zint, and this is a video about jobs. Nope, we are not censoring here. It's 2026, you gotta get over your fear, buddy. Since the start of the 2020s, the big issue that everyone has been worried about is the AI takeover. Whether that be AI taking our jobs, Italian brain rot, or all those AI videos that got you so paranoid you rewatch your old videos to make sure you sound consistent and human. Through all this sadness and hopelessness, you think maybe there's some form of silver lining in the story, a glint of light shining off the bodies the robots call their own, a spark of hope called Job Simulator. If you were a kid on the internet during the prime years of 2016 to 2018, you may recognize this guy. This is JobBot, and he runs the Job Simulator, a part museum, mostly simulation for humans. Now, you may be thinking, that's cool. I remember when my favorite YouTuber used to throw staplers at home. But what if I told you that he and the other bots you throw hot dogs at are actually part of an AI revolution meant to fully eradicate the human existence? Okay, that's not the whole story. If it was, the thumbnail would probably look like this. Job Simulator is a horror VR sandbox game released on April 5th, 2016. The game is basically 10 years old, people. Wake up. It was created by Alchemy Labs, the same guys behind Dimensional Double Shift, Cosmonious High, and Rick and Morty Virtual Reality. The game is, well, a job simulation. The current year is 2050, and bots have replaced the entire workforce. We are 25 years away from Job Simulator being real, and a year before the AI takeover. You are a human wanting to experience the mundane life of employment. JobBot is your guide on these historically accurate simulations, normally telling you what to do or just a fun fact about the world or what the bots think certain objects did. A sequel was released in 2019 called Vacation Simulator. This, guess what, is a vacation simulation. It had more bots, content, and things to do. Unlike Job Simulator, Vacation Simulator is an open world, or as open as it can be. This means more lore. Vacation Bot is your guide in this game, and you have to work with her and Efficiency Bot to keep the simulator running or else it gets shut down. There was a spin-off released in 2025 called Inside Job. It was exclusive to the Android XR and is a playground tech demo rather than an actual sequel to the games. So that means I don't have to play it for this video! That's $1,500 saved! What's important to note is that JobBot is real, guys. The AI uprising is sooner than you think. Now, it may sound crazy, but there is lore in these games, loads of it. Looking past the funny quips, questionable magazines, and being able to beat up the bots, this world the humans and bots live in goes quite deep. And there's so much details and little secrets that the developers want you to find. At least I think they want you to find them. Why at it, right? So don't go into my comment section saying, oh, it's just a simulation, none of it is real, because I will actually chuck a snowball at you. There is still a world outside the simulation, as shown in the main hub before starting a job or entering a passport. That outside world must influence the simulation in some way because CoderBot or something has to code it in. You have to have some references of what you're simulating. I cannot find any video about the deeper lore of both Job and Vacation Simulator combined. Most of them are technical facts about the game development, which is interesting, but I'm a story guy. Thankfully, I'm quite experienced in feeding myself. Don't be expecting an iceberg video. There's enough of those out there. Think of this video as an unhinged rambling your friend would tell you at 3 a.m. I have dedicated hours upon months of my life to figure out what exactly is the story behind these simulations. Are humans really extinct or just stupid? Are the bots just a physical version of ChatGPT? Did communism beat out capitalism? Why did Derek spill that slushy cup? Is Efficiency Bot a little gay bot? Have JobBot and Rick explored each other's ports? And is GigBot actually 100 years old? Hello, human! Welcome to an accurate simulation of Job Simulator.
bleep,
What?
blorp,
What are you
bleep,
doing?
Blorp, bleep, blorp, bleep, blorp. I am a robot.
Just to educate you, that's a hurtful stereotype.
The most iconic aspect of Job Simulator, and the one you see in all the thumbnails, are the bots you encounter throughout the simulations. These little cubes filled with circuits seem like pretty standard robots on the outside. They can't show certain emotions or grasp certain concepts. They're helpful, mostly knowledgeable, and very smackable. Most of them have that robotic tone of voice, whether it's subtle or in your face. The bots were created to replace all human jobs, as shown by the charts in the Job Museum. It seems to be one of, if not their only purpose. Surprisingly, jobs aren't the only thing bots do. You see bots have hobbies like rafting or puzzles, but all the bots you encounter are working in one way or another. Even if you do force them on vacation, they're not the biggest fans of not being productive. Though you see several bots around both simulator lobbies just visiting the museum and learning. It could be that the bots only enjoy making a conscious decision to take a day off, or their boss told them to go visit a museum. I like to think they enjoy being helpful, at least to humans. So they're a bunch of little guys, a group of cuties if you may. However, they're not just robots a guy in his parents' garage would build. They're pretty similar to human beings. Let's start at the beginning. Bots are born. Well, okay, I'm not sure if they're born, but they do grow like a human. This is first shown in Office Worker, where the bots show you their children. They are little computer chips and then grow into the child bots, then teen bots, and eventually parent bots. Also, the pictures on your own computer have children like bots. It is unknown if they grow organically, somehow, or are built as time goes on. It's most likely built though, so spare the anatomy diagram. I like to think of it like Robots 2005 in the aspect they just upgrade into newer parts, but their default model stays the same throughout. Speaking of models, there are 3 known types of models in this universe. There is the generic Bot 3000, who are the bots you see around the museums and the models of most of the bots you meet in Job Simulator. The other 2 are the models JobBot and TempBot are, along with VacationBot and EfficiencyBot's models. JobBot calls Vacay and EffyBot newer models, so they're not the same ones he is, and he is technically older than them. Also, JobBot, TempBot, and GigBot have that button and light on their frame, which the other 2 do not. GigBot is a refurbished bot, so he was probably created around the time JobBot and TempBot were created, hence the buttons. Now, if he was out of commission for a while and that's why he needed to be refurbished is anyone's guess. All we know is that he did get upgraded. There is a company that manufactures gears for upgrading bots, so they've been around since at least 2050, realistically speaking sooner than that. Along with that, advertisements for beauty products are shown in Vacation Simulator that are basically de-aging cream for bots. So their skin rusts and deteriorates throughout the years, but products come out to stop or slow that process. On the topic of modifications, gradients are a new thing in 2060. JobBot and the radio just describe it as a visual upgrade, so it's like makeup in a sense, and everyone can have it. There are also several side effects, but that doesn't matter. In fact, bots can upgrade more than just a gradient, but a whole new screen color change. Speaking of which, bots are fashionistas, especially in Vacation Simulator when they discover the concept of clothing that's not just a tie. Every bot has some sort of accessory and outfit, normally consisting of glasses and or a hat. Other times they can just have hair, sometimes a bush atop their head posing as hair, or they just have a mustache. These aren't removable, so maybe it is grown themselves. Mustaches or not, Bot Moss does rock beautiful flowers in their hair. These bots have a stronger sense of masculinity than most guys on Twitter. I can't really say masculinity because bots don't have genders. This was confirmed by the dev team and was shown even in the first game. Job Simulator was always woke, guys. It's a game about getting a job. I don't know what to tell you. Even if the bots are genderless because, you know, robots, they do have sides they lean to. JobBot, Beach Bum Bot, and Efficiency Bot are all mask. Teen Bot, Bug Bot, and Snow Safety Bot are femme. Vacation Bot is probably femme as well, but that's anybody's guess. Give me your gender, please. Oh, and GigBot is most definitely a femme bot. The gender confusion out of the picture, bots can be in romantic and familiar relationships no matter the orientation, or at least legally binding ones. God, that's so stupid. The list of confirmed relationships in Job Simulator is the husband and wife you hope get together in Gourmet Chef and later an auto mechanic. That's about it in the game, but then again, there's not a lot of variety in bots. In Vacation Simulator, there's so much more, bear with me. Puzzle Bot and Knitting Bot both on Vacation Mountain. Mountain Shop Bot is one of Knitting Bot's grand bots. The 2 parent bots on Vacation Forest with their kids, Child Bot and Teen Bot. Also in the forest is River Bot and his own kids, Raft Bot and Baby Bot. At Vacation Beach, there's some sort of relationship between Dive Bot and Burger Bot. I'm not sure if they're siblings or dating, but they mentioned each other in both their dialogues at the party. Speaking of siblings, Beach Bum Bot and Ski Bot are close, and Beach Bum Bot allegedly knows how to water ski via Ski Bot. There are relationships between the guides too. Efficiency Bot has a big fat crush on JobBot. Yes, there are gay robots in my job simulator. It's fairly subtle and you gotta read between the lines, but it is there. Don't like the gays? First, get off my channel. We're gay supporters here as a fellow gay person. Second, if JobBot ever did reject Efficiency Bot, it wouldn't be because of gender orientation. Hashtag JobBot is an ally. People have speculated that there's some sort of romantic relationship between BugBot and VacationBot because they were both shown in the Pride images Alchemy Labs posted, but it was never really shown in the game, so who knows. Even with Efficiency Bot aside, JobBot has been with some other bot before, but their OSs weren't compatible, so they split up. Also, the husband and wife returned in the DLC and...
Let's go to our room. I'm feeling like sharing my encrypted files with you.
Ooh, I didn't know you like to live so dangerously.
Wait, can the bots? Yes. Yes, they can. I'm going to hold your hand as I present to you Exhibit 2 if Exhibit 1 wasn't enough. The hot and steamy Gadgets magazine you can find in both Gourmet Chef and Store Clerk. JobBot is selling adult magazines at his establishment. There's no other way I could put this. Now don't ask me what type of huge features these bots have. I think my life will be much happier if I don't know this. I will give it to JobBot that the magazine is accurate for a convenience store. But if you're going to let me sell this, then at least let me sell a pack of e-cigarettes. I know some bots really need a break. That was a joke. Please don't smoke, kids. It's bad for you. And they do smoke. Bots can come in with a bubbler pipe that you could smoke yourself. Even in JobBot's portrait, he has one. Also, in Auto Mechanic, there's a bot that comes in with a Good Times tape in their trunk. You need to remove it because they don't want their dad finding out. These simulations are oddly realistic. While we're at it, let's check gambling off the list as well. There is an air freshener from Bot Vegas on the car. It's incriminating evidence. Why? Well, they are courtesy of the Chip and Bytes Casino. I'm not sure if casinos still exist in 2050 because of the lack of capitalism and currency, or if the bots know that casinos existed in the past and wanted to replicate them. But dang it, I want to see JobBot on those slots. He's a museum owner, he has credits to spare. And to complete the collection, bots can get drunk. There's one who comes in clearly drunk on what? I don't know, reboot beer. You constantly see references to adult beverages, whether that be wine or champagne. Bots are classy. Humans are not allowed to drink. All their beverages are grape juice and that's about it. At least the bots get sparkling battery acid to drink at the party. How exactly do they drink? When Tempbot drinks their coffee, they just splash it on their face. They can't eat either. I know it looks like they're eating in Vacation Simulator, but that's just mimicking eating for human enjoyment. They do charge themselves for energy, with both Tempbot and Gigbot having their power level visible. Bots have data and can connect to Wi-Fi. The family in Vacation Simulator tell a story and reassure ChildBot that they're on a family plan. So bots are also part phones, because they can just call anyone anywhere. However, they often turn away from the human while they do so. This is further supported when they compare bots to fungi because they both are different organisms connected to the same network. Along with typical communication from anywhere at any time, with internet of course, bots know a variety of different languages as one would expect. They know the obvious ones, binary, Morse code, English, and most likely every other documented language, but they also know and understand less translatable language such as dial tone and chiptune. In fact, English and all the human languages seem to be their second language. The bots only speak it if there's a human around and they have to, talk to them. They are much more comfortable speaking in Morse code or dial tone, probably because it's more natural for them. This is them breaking character, which implies that the bots don't often speak English to each other on a daily basis, or at the very least when there's no humans around. VacationBot even shuts it down saying they need to go somewhere private. Another thing I will tell you is that the bots do use the bathroom. I don't want to get into it. This is one of the few times I'll let you decide for yourself. I'm not sure how or what they wipe either. Living as a bot isn't sunshine in Reboot Beer. They can also die. In the Radio and Auto Mechanic, it talks about a famous bot who sings and floats around being found almost dead in a gutter. Was it self-sabotage or a robot assassination? We may never know. He was repaired in a bot hospital, but that adds another layer on this already confusing, I want to say species at this point. Speaking of death, if a bot's only purpose is to work, does that mean getting fired is some sort of death sentence? There's a letter you can write that is basically a registration notice, and it says, I am decommissioning myself. Pay attention to make this the new YouTube censorship. I know decommissioning something is just putting something out of use, like quitting your job, but the way it's phrased and in the context of the bots just make it have a double meaning. Bots can retire though. They can also quit their job and become a whole new bot. For example, Suntan Bot was originally named Accountant Bot, and Barista Bot so desperately wants to become Movie Bot. And in Office Worker, a bot is retiring. I don't know why that needs to be included on the job simulator iceberg and not not the fact that the bots can do it. This begs the question if bots unionized, or they just rename themselves into a more mundane bot, like Jogging Bot. Since we have a general idea on the bots and what exactly they do and are, let's get into the world they live in and how humans play a role in it.
Tyler, you're fired.
Huh? What? You fired Tyler, you fired me too.
It's fine, Charlie. I love you, brother.
Our story begins in the 1900s, or around the 1900s. It's the earliest date we have. This is what is referred to as the Old World. This was when humans ran the planet, and more importantly, jobs. The time around the 1900s is up to interpretation. All we have are the few displays in the job simulator, but we can infer that society is relatively the same in the real world. They drove cars, had staplers, and went to work in big office buildings. All the diagrams predate circa 1950s to 1999, so they're not super accurate. We do need to note the fact that the advancement of technology was quick due to the creation of the bots in the 2000s. I'm not sure if bots were created exactly when Y2K struck, but they seem to be around even in the 1900s. I really doubt they were sentient, let alone capable of doing jobs, so let's just say they started to become more advanced in the 2000s. And considering the fact that all human jobs are gone in 2050, who's to say that little bit just means zero? As the 2000s progressed, the bots got better to the point of replacing full-time jobs. Around the late 2010s and early 2020s, capitalism was abolished. Yes, you heard me. Capitalism is dead. How does that work now? Is Job Simulator trying to spread their communist agenda? I'll tell you how that works. Exposure, baby! All these bots are made to work. It's all they do. How do you get jobs? By other people telling you you're fit for it. Exposure! You can't get a job if no one knows who you are, and if you don't have a job, then what are you really doing? Exactly. Exposure makes the world go round. And if not that, there is a universal credit system in circulation, which means there is no bot that has too much money, as shown in Store Clerk. This further proves the communist theory, but I digress. Though there are CFOs. BanditBot is a CFO. These guys most likely deal with the UCS, and are the reasons for the different types of credit cards you can see in the Job Simulator. Skipping a few years later, bots have been more active in taking jobs. Not all of them, but they were certainly climbing the ranks. It got to a point where most, if not all, the jobs were entirely bot-owned. We can conclude that human jobs are fully replaced around 2025 to 2027. Speaking of the year 2027, a notable fact about the history of this world is the human uprising of 2027. It was first said by JobBot to describe a mess in the convenience store, but it goes deeper than that. I'm kidding, sorta. His description of the event is pretty spot on, though a bit simplified. Come now, children, get comfy and say thank you to InvestigationBot as I tell you the terrifying tale that changed the course of human history. The year is 2027. Humans were recently put in their permanent retirement. We cut to a convenience store. The store may have been the Slushy Mart, the store where you work at in Job Simulator, but it's not Node. It's packed with bots and humans alike. One of these humans is Derek Andrews. Now, Derek just had a revelation. The concept of free will was Bluetoothed into his brain. He did what too many TikTokers are comfortable doing and inconvenienced the bot workers by throwing his slushy on the ground. Everyone hears it and stares. Utter confusion and betrayal spread across everyone's faces. How could he do such a thing? It's uncalled for. The situation was swiftly dealt with, but the impact was permanent. CleanerBot, poor CleanerBot. He had to completely reroute to clean up the mess and came home seconds later than when he was supposed to. His partner, PetuniaBot, was worried sick. It was a heartbreaking situation. The relationship between bots and humans were never the same since. If humans will treat bots like dirt because they're the ones working, why should the bots respect the humans? After the event, Andrews was ashamed of his actions. He just wanted to work and let his anger overcome him. So he asked for forgiveness and, under no duress from a bot, became a bot-astery. Wait, what? Religion exists? There is no info about this in the game, but considering the fact that he did become a bot-astery, you can only assume that there are monks and nuns worshipping the bots? Maybe there is a Pope bot somewhere, or it's only the humans praising them because some of them think they are their AI overlords. We may never know. I would like to note that both simulations are closed on Sundays. Though bots aren't exactly atheists, they have some sort of religion. The coins in the game say "In Job We Trust" and an image of JobBot. This is probably JobBot just stroking his own ego, but in a world where working is the only thing the bots know how to and like doing, it being some sort of belief is believable. Maybe JobBot is a pope in his free time, I dunno. Back on topic, JobBot most likely witnessed the human uprising of 2027. He could have been the manager during it. You gotta get job experiences somewhere. It also helps that his dialogue says he's seen it, and the uprising took place in a convenience store, the same place he tells you this. His original job before the museum opened up was probably employee or even shift manager at a convenience store. He's more active in your progress in that job than any other job, and he even nominated himself as Employee of the Month. After the uprising, bots provided more and more jobs, and eventually political empowerment. Those are jobs. There's a mayor bot, lawyer bots, and most likely a president bot. They may have obliterated capitalism, but not democracy. Maybe. There's also a bot jail, which houses sleazebot, bossbot, and either bandit bot, granny bot, or that annoying bot I forgot the name of. This explains the existence of police bots and probably police botality, but that's not here or there. And with the license plates in Job Simulator parroting the states from the US, the museum takes place somewhere in the United States of America. United States of Job-Erica. With political empowerment comes bills and acts. I took a civics class, I know what I'm talking about. These bills weren't things like kill every human ever or make humans our slaves. Honestly, maybe some bots did try to pass those after Derek Andrews, but that's besides the point. Some acts were in favor of humans, at least this one in 2035. In 2035, the Sharp Act was passed. It banned human usage of knives for safety reasons. They hid them all by placing them on a high shelf or something. It was most likely to prevent humans from harming themselves or others, maybe the bots as well. All forms of cutting were replaced by the Slice-O-Matic. It saved, easy to use, and helped human injury rates go down to 0%. Keep the date in the back of your head, dear viewer. I will be quizzing you on this. Also during the 2030s, boats were discontinued around that time. There is no inherent reason why they were removed, but it could be because of flying cars. If you look up in both simulators, you see a skylight with flying cars. It makes sense why boats are irrelevant when you can just fly anywhere. We can conclude that flying cars were invented around this decade. It was probably by a bot, really. Boats were originally owned by wealthy bots before becoming historical artifacts. This makes the capitalism being gone even more confusing, but hey, good thing I'm not in finance, right? Sometime around the 2020s, 2030s, a company called Alchemy Labs emerged. No, not the developers, an in-world company in Job Simulator. They helped program the human instruction board and the computers used in Office Worker. They make TVs and screens and the non-sentient bots. You could assume they made the simulation as well. Wouldn't that be meta? Quest. It would be extra meta if it was created in 2010. Wink wink. The only known bot on the team is Credits bot. There is nothing important to note in the 2040s, but humans have been allowed to experience their old-timey things now. This is alluding to the Job Simulator, but can also imply that it was originally a bot-only experience. Also, humans were never treated all too bad. They just get treated better than before. There's still hospitals for humans, though they are run by bots. It shows they still care about them, even if it's just a little. On the topic, I'll give you some facts about bot culture and what's been done by them pre-2050s that I couldn't fit into a category. In the world surrounding the simulations, there is a lack of plants, at least in 2050. This is because bots dislike plants so much they had them all removed. All the deforestation caused dust to settle in the air and most likely caused insane amounts of pollution, Wall-E style. Going outside is probably a death sentence. No wonder humans only stay in the simulations. This is further confirmed by the anti-trees mug in Job Simulator. This could also be an allusion to the fact that AI takes a whole lot of water and environmental damage, but this is a video about Job Simulator. There's plenty of videos about that. However, there are characters like Botanist and Botmoss and Vacation Simulator who have some sort of connection to plants. They seem to not hate plants all the way and only like them in a controlled environment, like a pot or a garden. This is further supported in Vacation Simulator, where they have a whole exhibit about what was nature. You see how it says was instead of is? Plants still exist, just not nature as a whole. Vacation Bot does say that nature is now being restored, so it turns out these bots have some sort of empathy. Good on you. With that in mind, animals are like plants, only living in controlled environments. I'll go into more details about this later, but it would make sense that no nature equals no creatures. Sometime during this era, humans just stopped eating. They now run on nutritional implants. Doesn't that sound tasty? JobBot connects it to the intake of fluid, so these implants could just be for liquid. Or maybe these implants are connected to the simulation and allow the human to eat and drink inside it. There are several known cities, one of them being Job City, where the Job Simulator is located. Job City seems to be the LA to bots. It's where all the bots want to be. It makes sense. It is the land of the jobs. Serious Business Inc. is located here as well. There's also Bot City, where Giggler resides, and of course, Bot Vegas. On the topic of Giggler, there are a handful of known companies and businesses in the Simulatorverse. The Job Simulator, the Vacation Simulator, the Bureau of Simulation / Corporate, SRS Business Inc., Giggler, Grifty Loop, Drifty Loop, Gourmet Grub, and Slushy Mart. These are all important in some way, and I will go deeper when they're relevant. Several books have been rewritten to be bot-themed. There's stuff like The Great Botsby, The Bot and the Ride, To Kill a Mockingbot, and even Bot Farm. The communist theory grows stronger by the day. They could be the bots trying to erase human history, the Library of Alexandria style, or they're just translations of the books and bot terminology. Romance books, for example, are written way differently for a bot to understand. They are capable of writing their own books, so it's not entirely plagiarism. Books aren't the only form of entertainment in this universe. There are also several movies and radio stations produced by bots. Hollybot is the big guy in the movie industry, and Producer Bot runs the radio. Humans have rights as well, with a single radio station being run by, I'm pretty sure, is a human that makes up the radio numbers despite the fact they're just ones and zeros and kind of sound like an unprepared middle schooler during a presentation. Is this a job? Maybe there's a radio simulator down the street where you just get to be a radio host. There are also many songs written by bots that play in simulations. All the music you hear in Vacation Simulator was composed by Background Music Bot. The writer for the songs in Job Simulator is unknown, but by the lyrics it's clear that a bot wrote them as well. Bots have built several buildings throughout the years. There's even bot-exclusive buildings with rooms where they just float around. I'm not sure how a bot builds a building, but I bet they believe in better collaboration for these built buildings now that they have books built for it. Baby. Human history and records have been lost to time in between the 1990s and 2050s. The burning of Alexandria Library might have actually happened in the universe. Details about things like disc burning and lemon cards have been largely lost to time. It's not entirely lost, thankfully, as there are some documented ideas on how humans dealt with things like heat for burning discs and lemon cards equal bad, which means bots have been making an effort to preserve history with places like...
Today, I'll be talking about one of humanity's biggest fears.
Job Simulator, the 2050 Archives, is a paid experience founded in the year 20-something. Yes, we are finally getting into the game 4.5 thousand words later. Even then, we can't get into the actual game itself because we need to figure out when the simulator was founded. The portrait provides little to no information at all besides the fact it was made in the 21st century, but looking at the timeline, we can assume it was founded around the late 2030s or early 2040s. To everyone in the comments saying, oh, it was founded in 2050, stupid, don't you see how it says the 2050 Archives? I say, no, you don't go to a museum calling itself the 1985's Archives, because then in 2025, it looks like it's only archiving the 1985s. Besides, 2050 is probably the latest version of the simulator, so update it to the 2050 Archives because it is in 2050 archiving the 1900s. Whatever. To further support my original theory, we know about the Sharp Act of 2035. You kept that date in mind, right? Cool. In Gourmet Chef, there are no knives. Anywhere. You serve blocks of cheese and pre-sliced bread to the customers. If this simulation was as accurate to the time period as JobBot claims it is, there would be knives. We can piece together that Job Simulator was founded after 2035 due to the lack of knives present because it would be against the law to give a human a knife for safety reasons. Simulators double as museums of human history as well. It works as an interactive archives of the 1900s. The main hub is to teleport to the simulation, while the rest of the building is for bot use and for them to learn about the past. I'd also like to mention that simulations are only for human use. I guess you don't need to simulate what you do on a daily basis. Job Simulator is owned by the Bureau of Simulations. Don't believe me? Well, let me briefly bring Inside Job back into the picture. Yes, it's not a sequel, but it doesn't mean it isn't at least a little canon. In the teaser, you see JobBot blue screen, and you know what it says? Sending data to the Bureau of Simulations. The same message Efficiency Bot shares. The bot who does work for the Bureau. And, you know, there's also the exit burrito that's shared by both simulations if he wants to stick to the main games. Just let me lay out that he is in contact with them, and they're probably his boss. Anyway, the current museum curator is JobBot. Was it founded by JobBot himself, or did he inherit it from someone else? I'd like to think he founded it. He is JobBot, after all. Though he does have a mom bot, so maybe he got it from his dad bot. Or he has daddy bot issues. That'd be a fun next game. Therapy Simulator. JobBot is quite a nice guy. He's patient, lets you throw things at him with little to no repercussions, and he's quite the celebrity. There's been several movies made focused on him and a bootleg video game, so the simulation is nothing to scoff at. Even being the head of the Job Simulator, there are still subjects that JobBot can't fully grasp, like vacations or computers. No, JobBot, you can't give your employees mandatory vacations no matter how much they may need it. He is most likely the face of simulations and owns the most successful one. Everyone knows who he is anyways. In fact, Job Simulator is one of, if not the first simulation in the universe. Think about it. Bots, job, that's what they care about. Wouldn't it make sense that if they must archive human history, it would be about the one thing they desired to do? It explains why the museum is so popular, even 15 years later. Back to JobBot. He's pretty hands-on most of the simulations, but he does let other bots take over like BossBot and SleazeBot. Speaking of other bosses, Job Simulator seems to work closely with other companies. Let's bring up SRS Business Inc. This company is owned by CEOBot and it's referenced in both Vacation and Job Simulator. They're close with the Job Simulator, especially with the shared posters that are owned by the company. Their exact relationship is uncertain, but I think they're a subsection of the Bureau of Simulations that split off in the future, which explains Giggler. Don't you dare forget about this company, it is super important. The guide and office worker, the job where you work at SRS Business Inc., is BossBot, who's later arrested for cooking books. I like to mention that JobBot is not present while this is happening. Who knows what he's doing in the lobby? Sleazebot runs a repair shop of his own because Grifty Lube is most definitely an actual business scamming bots in the real world. It's the same case for Office Worker where JobBot is just lingering as Sleazebot does all the talking. Since Drifty Lube is an active competitor against Grifty Lube, it makes sense that they're separate businesses outside the simulation. There is an idea that most, if not all, of the recurring bots you see are actors, and the unique ones like Sleazebot aren't actually employees of the Job Simulator specifically. Realistically speaking, it's probably just Alchemy's limited resources and had to reuse models, but it explains why you'd see Supervisor Bot and Auto Mechanic with a voice built for whimpering. I mean, what? Who said that? Who said that? Bots are able to volunteer at the simulator to help out. One of the descriptions in Back to Job is, this bot volunteers at the Job Museum. A solid example of this is Mountain Shot Bot, who originally worked at the Job Simulator before JobBot recommended him to extend his career. This could be a nod to the fact that Mountain Shot Bot is voiced by Jacksepticeye, and he did technically work at the Job Simulator. If that's the case, cool, I like that. Okay, backstory of Job Simulator and how it's run out of the way. Let's finally talk about the game. It is the Big 50 now. A human, you, has entered the simulation to job. You have 4 jobs to do: office worker, gourmet chef, store clerk, and auto mechanic. I think that's the actual order you're supposed to complete the jobs as well. All these simulations take place in the 1990s, so 60 years in the past before the time of bots. I'm not going to sit here and recap every single thing you do in every single job, so I'll just provide some highlights. Office worker, you do office worker things like eating donuts, launching staplers at your coworkers, lie about the sales of the company, shred the evidence, and get promoted. You can also just play bot sweeper or Flappy Bot all day if you so desire. Gourmet chef, you cook at a restaurant called Gourmet Grub. You serve food, poison children, eat bugs to hide them from the health inspector who later sends you an email saying they find you, and bribe a food critic. There's also a couple here that you help. They will be important later. Store clerk, probably one of the more casual jobs. Working at the slushy mart, JobBot's your manager and he helps you out as you encounter drunk customers, send grandmas to jail, give kids fireworks, and get robbed. This is BanditBot and he's probably one of the few bots who aren't just actors. Auto mechanic. Instead of working for JobBot, you work under Sleazebot, a mechanic who runs Grifty Lube by less than legal means. You destroy gas tanks, steal bots' pistons, poison the air, and decorate cars. Grifty Lube is likely a company in the real world who fixes flying cars, and Sleazebot is notable. Keep him in mind. After completing all the jobs, you unlock job modes, or a Job Genie cartridge that modifies the simulator. They're not super important, but I just want to bring up that they were engineered in a lab, and JobBot does have a team of scientists researching new ways to job. That's completely normal. You also unlock Infinite Overtime. Infinite Overtime is the DLC of Job Simulator and an extension of the Job Simulator experience. It is this game's endless mode. You work overtime and get a stream of randomized customers and randomized tasks. The job officially takes place during 11 p.m. and it goes on as long as you can. You get promotions and plaques for completing tasks, all given to you by TempBot. This is TempBot, and they're your shift manager for the night shift. He also owns a shop of his own, Drifty Lube. It's open 24/7 and outlived Grifty Lube. Like JobBot, Tempy tells you fun facts about the night shift grind during downtimes of overtime. They happen at random times and occasionally are just quips, but they're mostly about the fact humans worked at night to feel useful. TempBot is an interesting character in themselves. They are described as JobBot's less motivated nighttime replacement. They only run on coffee and are constantly on low power mode. They probably live at Job Simulator considering the fact they're always on the clock. He does like to go to Gourmet Grub and pretend he owns the place even if he doesn't. One more thing to note about Job Simulator is its connection to the Vacation Simulator. You see, before the sequel came out, there was a mini scavenger hunt in the game that required something from all the jobs. It was super confusing and required several people to piece together. After doing all the decoding, which is one of the few things you can read about on the wiki, JobBot says this.
There is no way a human could have made it this far. You must be one of us. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
He then gives you a postcard sent by VacationBot inviting you over to the Vacation Simulator. What is the Vacation Simulator? Well, with the rapid success of Job Simulator, bots were interested to figure out what else humans did besides job.
I think we do whatever we want.
Whatever we want?
Whatever we want.
Jumping to the year 2060, you are the first human guest to the grand opening of Vacation Island. Before we dive into this game, what happened between the years 2050 to 2060? From what is given, not much. What we do know is Sleazebot got arrested shortly after your time in Job Simulator. He's been in jail for 10 years. BossBot is still in jail during this time. He does email you saying there's no hard feelings. The Job Simulator continued to blow up in popularity, causing more simulations/museums to pop up. This is further supported by the newspaper in Job Simulator that talked about simulations at an all-time high. And Giggler was created in this decade. I'll elaborate more later. Along with that, fire was a target of yet another alleged safety act. Despite fire being a common thing seen throughout the destinations, all of them are electricity and, well, fake. Now, this may just seem like a cheeky design choice because robots, haha, but Job Simulator had fire. You could literally burn yourself on the stove, and the kitchen caught on real fire in one of the jobs. But with the Sharp Act of 2035 in question, who's to say humans' abilities to use dangerous items were restricted even more 10 years later? This is an estimated guess, but it's in the realm of possibilities. The most important thing that happened is that the Vacation Simulator was founded during this time period. My evidence? I'd like to bring up the postcard again. In this game, you are the first human in the actual simulation of Vacation Island, but you received the postcard in 2050, 10 years earlier. This indicates, and later confirmed, that you are canonically the same human in both games, and also that the Vacation Simulator, or at least the museum part, must have been created around 2050. We know that the simulations are two things, a simulation for humans and a museum for bots. Vacation Simulator as a museum may be 10 years old when the game takes place, but the actual simulation is new, which explains why it's the grand opening of Vacation Island in specific. There are also other exhibits shown in the lobby, but the island is what is advertised as new. Along with being new, Vacation Simulator is also experimental. That explains why it's a rough simulation, in all honesty. They may be made by bots who only job. Every bot in this world jobs. So when Vacation Bot comes along and goes, "Humans vacation, let's try that," everyone just stares at each other. It makes sense. Why would someone want to not work? Bots don't know how or why they want to relax, so unlike JobBot and his staff, who are very much educated in jobs and how accurate they are and should be, Vacation Simulator is full of bots praying they know what they're doing. Okay, time for the actual game. Vacation Simulator is a semi-new simulation for humans to enjoy. Unlike Job Simulator, Vacation Simulator is free. Things have changed in the past 10 years. For starters, the bots can actually move around when they talk. Now they don't stare at you mindlessly as they watch you fail not to spill a slushie over and over again. Also, you can move now. You're not confined to a desk and can move wherever the game lets you go. As a result, this game is so much bigger than Job Simulator, which a bunch more things to do. Along with that, you can actually talk to the bots via waving. Yes, this is a new thing in the universe that you did not know how to do before. JobBot is surprised when he sees you waving. Oh, and you're real. You look like a human instead of a floating pair of hands and headset. Thank you, Avatar Customizer 3000. I do find it funny how VacationBot doesn't let you go around the simulation as the default avatar, like it's considered the nude or something, and then we stare at JobBot who quite literally is just wearing a tie with nothing else. There is also a plot. It's so beautiful seeing a game I like have a consistent storyline. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's meet the tour guides. This is VacationBot. They are probably the museum curator, and due to the whole running a simulation thing, VacationBot was the one who reached out to you and is friends with JobBot, which is how he got the postcard to deliver it to you. Also, another thing I'll get to later. There's Silly, a raging optimist, and just wants what's best for the human. There is also a co-guide, Corporate Efficiency Blockchain Database Metrics Champion Bot. He collects titles like Infinity Stones, but everyone just calls him Efficiency Bot. Efficiency Bot is an employee for the Bureau of Simulations, the company that owns Vacation Simulator. He's a logical scheduling nerd who probably owns a planner like this and wants what's best for the simulation. The two bots have some sort of history prior to the simulation. How else would Vacation Bot know Efficiency Bot's full legal name? They bounce off each other well, the emotional versus logical dynamic that I love in media. They're not always on the same page, but they do share the same craziness of solutions and the same problem. The Vacation Simulator isn't doing as great as they hoped. Their numbers have been climbing down, and the Bureau is breathing down their ergonomic monitor stands for metrics. As a way to provide said metrics, Efficiency Bot makes you collect memories, despite Vacation Bot's worries, to measure vacation. That is the main gimmick in this game. There are 70 memories in total you need to collect, and boy are they not created equal. You travel around Vacation Island to the 3 main destinations: Vacation Beach, Forest, and Mountain. Each of these destinations have an excursion you can do, which you need to complete the game. Since the game is a lot less linear than Job Simulator, but somehow more constrained, there is a lot to do and talk about. I have sympathy for my dinky hand-me-down phone, so I will not dive into every single memory you can get. Just play the game yourself, it's a good game. At Vacation Beach, you encounter a boat after years of them being absent and head to the dive site. This excursion has you investigate a shipwreck of Botbeard, a pirate known for their collection of illegally downloaded software, and steal his treasure, which is just his drip. The minigame here was to just unlock the chest, but it was pretty easy. All the minigames are easy to progress throughout the game, actually. In Vacation Forest, you go on a relaxing nature hike to see the geyser. I would like to point out that all of these trees are simulated because, as we know, a majority of the plants in the real world are very, very dead. At the geyser, you have to turn it on with all these buttons because you're on vacation and everything is inconvenient on vacation. Vacation Mountain has the peak. You scale it via a ladder and have to raise the flag as the minigame. It's the most underwhelming one in my opinion, but at least the view is nice. It may be because most of the content is on the base of the mountain. All these excursions require 5 memories found in their respective areas. These memories include, but are not limited to, fishing, yoga, cooking burgers, spooky stories, taking pictures, puzzles, pouring fluid on someone's back, knitting, taking more pictures, cooking waffles, sandcastles, collecting bugs, gardening, skiing, painting, sculpting, taking pictures, cooking pies, more sandcastles, playing with balls, more sculpting, pictures, and even more pictures. At the end of these side quests, EfficiencyBot spoils the mood by pulling out the metrics and saying that the simulator is cooked if VacationBot doesn't lock in. She doesn't, and the simulator gets shut down. EfficiencyBot tries to salvage the situation via button pressing, and the two bots figure out that they were just measuring the wrong thing, and that this simulation is beneficial for humans via eternal relaxation, something not present while working. The day is saved, they have a party, Hot Tub Bot feeds bathwater soup to the guests, and JobBot appears if you collect all the memories. Like any games with an actual plot, there is a lot to unravel about the world building this does, so buckle in before we dive further with the DLC. Oh my god! Let's talk about the animals you see throughout the game. There's hermit crabs, birds, fish, and bugs. The only animals you saw in Job Simulator were the cat bot in the photo album and the insects you have to kill, and the fish you see in the tank. In 2060, we have a better idea of the animal kingdom, at least in the simulations. All the animals are some form of electronic, whether they have motors, hinges, or plugs. There are also bots dedicated to animals like Biology Bot, Bird Bot, Wild Bot, Bug Bot, and maybe River Bot. He probably loves the fish more than his actual son. There's also the Abominable Snow Bot, but I'm not sure if they're bot or animal. In Job Simulator, insects were displayed as computer bugs because computers, but the only bug aspects they did have were the multiple legs. The fish looked like normal fish a child would draw with no obvious bot aspects on them. They could just work like those bath toys. Now, what begs the question is this: are animals still present in the real world, or are they just simulated in ways bots understand, sort of like the books I talked about earlier? It makes the most sense if animals are at least contained, like plants, because of the reference to raccoons, bears, and deers, which are not shown to have mechanical features. Even then, some bots don't even know what sheep are. Besides, the bugs simulated in 2050 and 2060 are night and day when it comes to accuracy. Dragonflies, butterflies, and moths all look like their real-world counterparts, while the ones in Job Simulator were poor imitations of roaches. For the Vacation Simulator, the bots must have done their research, at least the ones focused on animals like the bots mentioned above. With this in the picture, we can conclude that there are still animals outside the simulation that bots actively study. I don't think the bots are actors in this game. They seem more like hobbyist vacation bot plucked from the streets of Bot City that happened to indulge in things humans did back then. They are obviously skilled in their hobbies, but it feels more natural than performative, and less adaptable than the bots in Job Simulator. Remember Bandit Bot? He was one of the few bots that probably weren't just an actor. Why? Well, every role he has in the jobs he appears in involves robbing, burglary, or being on the run from the police. Other bots have different roles throughout the jobs, but he, along with Sleevesbot, who's also probably non-actor, doesn't. Let me make it clear that the bots are still getting paid or some form of work experience from the Vacation Simulator. I'm not sure if VS allows bots to volunteer like Job Simulator, but WrappedBot has an internship there and his dad does work there as his job. There are more ways bots have archived human history than just simulations as well. There's books as mentioned before, but there's also documentaries. They even kept the trope of a party at the end of the adventure, so bots do care about the preservation of humanity. This was established in Job Simulator, but we also found out that the Bureau does not care about history. It's one of the reasons why the Vacation Simulator is on the brink of shutting down, even though it just opened. Wild idea, but maybe they shouldn't have made it free. It makes sense why the Bureau has such high expectations for Vacation Simulator, to the point of shutting it down. Vacation Simulator is a free experience, and there's no profits coming in. For a corporation as big as the Bureau of Simulations, it's understandable why they'd want to pull the plug, especially because all the metrics at first are negative. Simulators are pricey. I would like to mention this probably relates to the simulation part of Vacation Simulator, but not the museum part. We know that Vacation Simulator is close to the Job Simulator, and VacationBot is in contact with JobBot, and it's how he shows up when you 100% the game. He's also happy that Vacation Simulator worked out, so he must have known about it before the end of the game. And he did via the postcard all the way back in 2050. JobBot was always a supporter of this journey, and since JobBot, the curator of the job simulator, saw success in the Vacation Simulator, so did the Bureau. I find that funny, because VacationBot doesn't even know how vacations benefit humans like every other bot. They're learning with the human because no bot knows why a human would want to vacation, because there are bots made to work. To them, and technically the Bureau, vacation served no purpose whatsoever. Vacation Simulator was built on a dream, and I'm surprised the Bureau and JobBot put up with it for over 10 years. What can we take from all this? Well, the Bureau does not understand why vacations are important, JobBot is supportive of the little guys, and VacationBot needs to practice their impulse control. Also, that Vacation Simulator needs exposure to succeed, and the best way to get exposure is through collaborations. Back to Job as Vacation Simulator's Infinite Overtime. It's the free DLC with a new guide and a legally binding contract. All the bots are on vacation, so that means the human has to fill in the job hole they left behind. But it's not a job hole, it's a gig hole you need to fill. You work for the company Giggler and are confined to a pool cabana worker. You're forced to deal with Karens, babysitting, and familiar faces from your previous simulation experiences. What was that? A legally binding contract? Yet, you have to sign an agreement to Giggler to even start working. This stands out because this is the only experience that has you sign paperwork like an NDA, an Inhuman License Agreement, an Arbitration Agreement, and a Contractor Termination Agreement. You're trained by Gigbot, an enthusiastic contract worker at Giggler who's newly refurbished and obsessed with 5 stars and a full-time job. At Giggler, you're only allowed to give and receive 5 stars. I will get to that later. Unlike Infinite Overtime, Back to Job has a small story reminiscing of the Job Simulator jobs along with its endless mode. Honestly, it's just a smaller version of Job Simulator, and dare I say, copycat. With this story, you meet some old and new faces from both previous simulators. The more important ones are the husband and wife bots from Gourmet Chef, JobBot, VacationBot, InfluencerBot, TempBot, EfficiencyBot, and BanditBot. Alright, let's speedrun how they develop the world. Husband-bot and wife-bot. Bots are not confined to their simulations. They can go on honeymoons and explore each other's encrypted files. JobBot. He is not dressed to be on vacation, so he's one of the few bots who visits you while on the clock. He told us about the Sharp Act of 2035, something he probably witnessed as well, you old fart. VacationBot. VacationBot doesn't actually like vacations. They enjoy solving problems and being productive rather than sitting around and relaxing. They do enjoy breaking the rules for fun before immediately backpedaling. InfluencerBot. They're only important because they're an influencer with lots of exposure, and Giggler values exposure highly, so they're one of the richer bots in a way. TempBot. TempBot doesn't get their own mission, but they do come in the endless mode and take items that are rated 4 stars or less. They also give you checkups on the job simulator and that Grifty Lube and the simulation are still doing well. They are also in their work clothes, which makes sense considering they're the de facto workaholic. EfficiencyBot. Bro is not allowed anywhere near the human to the point of having to put on a disguise to talk to them. Like VacationBot, EffiBot does not enjoy vacation, but it's more he can't function on vacation because he has to make sure things are efficient. BanditBot. He has moved up the ranks and is now the CFO of Giggler after telling the CEO to stop paying their employees. He is now above you on the corporate ladder and literally buys you out. He's still a criminal at heart because he pulls a banana on you if you refuse his deal. Even then, they're not entirely a crook. You do share a normal chat with them about how he got to the top. Once your training is complete, you start the endless mode. You're about to get hired by Giggler before it's postponed and you're stuck as a gig worker. Instead of chasing promotions and trying to climb the employment ladder, you're now trying to get a full-time job. Yep, you're not even an employee, no matter how many stars you earn. Giggler always finds an excuse, which normally involves the CEO, training courses not made for humans, or lawyer bots. That's story mode, folks. There's not much to it, considering the DLC is fairly short on that end. So let's talk about Giggler. Some of the known history of Giggler Holdings Inc. is that it's a website to order things. It is unclear if the website came first, but it is more reliable than the human worker. This is run, or I assumed managed, at least slightly, by OpsBot. OpsBot isn't that important, but they have some sort of relationship with SlavesBot, whether he's their dad or older brother or just some guy they and their mom knows. Also, something that is more reliable than a human worker is the Giggler app for what I assume is for room service. The company itself is known for its mediocre service, but everyone rates them 5 stars. Truthfully, of course. Giggler also owns a video calling service called Giggler Gather, but that's only in social media posts. Giggler values exposure highly. That's why I mentioned the semi-importance of InfluencerBot. Why would exposure be so valuable to a contract worker? Because that's how you get more gigs, as elaborated earlier. They seem to view it higher than the universal credit system too. The simulation itself does not seem to be historical at all. You get a few fun facts about how humans used to gig, or typical jobs and customers a human would encounter at the time by GigBot, but it's very surface level. The only guy providing an immense amount of detail is JobBot, and that's literally what he does. Do the practices Giggler encourages sound scummy to you? Of course it does! You know why? SRS Business Inc., baby. It all leads back to them. You know them, you love them, you know the constant fraud they do that ends up with the rest of their boss. Fun fact, they own Giggler, so take a wild guess on the morals of Giggler with this information. Still unsure? Let me remind you that the CFO is BanditBot and was hired because the CEO liked his idea of underpaying employees. With these guys in charge, of course Giggler will have some ulterior motives. Like shady business, for example. BossBot and BanditBot are both known and quite good at cooking books and also getting arrested. They have experience in covering up their tracks, and Giggler does the same. One of the first things GigBot tells you is that they only rate 5 stars, no matter how bad or good you did. The customers only give you 5 stars, even if you take forever on their order or get it mostly wrong. If you give GigBot 3 stars on his script reading at the beginning of the DLC, he straight up says that he's going to go and change it to 5 stars. GigBot, a contract worker who isn't even an actual employee yet, can just go and switch customer reviews around. Giggler fix what customers really say and always make them favorable in their honor. Side note, GigBot is still a part-time worker and training you. He gets a full-time at the end of the story and he's immediately put on vacation. Use that information to your will. Along with messing with reviews, these companies are quite good at getting in legal trouble. It's the big reason why you're not a full-time employee yet. Sometimes it could be your liars fighting each other or paying off the CEO's golden parachute. It always delays your full-time employment. The human is stuck in internal employment purgatory, and this seems planned by Giggler themselves. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That is basically the timeline of the simulator verse. It's long, filled with hypotheticals because there's only like 5 documented events. An inside job probably takes place like 5 years later or something. Don't quote me on that. Though this doesn't have to be all that's left of this reality. I have more ideas, but they cross the line into theory land rather than educated guesses. What's that? You want to hear more useless deranged theories I've been thinking about instead of doing my homework?
But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory.
I'm going to be real with y'all, this section is the sloppy seconds of the lore. It's just additional facts that I couldn't find a proper place in the timeline, and for fun, I will bring up and personally debunk some theories as well, or at least give my own take on them. Since this little bit was a tech demo, it's hard to say if it's canon or not, but sometime in 2023 real-world time, they were planning on making a job simulator game that was only hand tracking. There's not a lot of information on the actual game, but you are a human working at a job simulator pop-up museum as a barista. It takes place after Vacation Simulator because the customers that visit you are bots from primarily that game. You can even spot the husband and wife. Tempa might have been banned from the pop-up. If you want to think this is canon, go ahead, but this demo and style of the game was eventually repurposed into Alchemy's newest game, Dimensional Double Shift. There's a reason why this isn't in the Job Simulator section, because this whole thing may not even exist in the Job Simulator universe anymore. But you know who does exist in the universe? 911! Sorta. IT is the botso 911, and I think that's cute. JobBot knows several human facts unrelated to jobbing, including different ways on how to say fart. They prefer waffles over pancakes, and on the topic of food, JobBot does in fact drink and smoke. I highly doubt it's something they indulge in daily and more of a special occasion. Oh, how I love men with unhealthy lifestyle habits. He can write cursive and dislikes seeing his name written as 2 words. You got that, people? If I see any comment spelling JobBot's name as JobBot, I will get really hurt because that means you didn't watch this far. That or you enjoy rage baiting me. JobBot is aware of their catchphrase too, "This is an accurate simulation of 1. They poke fun at it and back to job. If you look inside them, the thing on the side of their box is actually a phone, and the paper in their head is an A+. An A+ of what? I'm not sure. Bonus fact, Rick from the TV show Rick and Morty has met JobBot. They are friends. I have never watched Rick and Morty, but I know they travel through dimensions in that show. So no, I doubt Job Simulator takes place in the Rick and Morty verse, but Rick probably travels to the simulator verse to get drunk with JobBot. I have one more JobBot fun fact. I promise I don't have a favorite. He doesn't view gigs as a real job and offers you to come back to a simulation. On contrast, they say in their quote that they're supportive of gigs and Giggler, though they prefer jobs. Is this him speaking from the heart, or was it all a paid advertisement like InfluencerBot did? Maybe he's just told to say that and he alluded to the truth with you because he trusts you because you're the same human who worked 4 genuine jobs under him. Or he just wanted to throw Giggler astray. Who am I to judge? Efficiency Bot and Temp Bot are friends. They bond over the inefficiency of sleep mode. Vacation Bot, Bandit Bot, and Job Bot are all published authors. I think I've said enough about these bots in the respective sections, so no need to repeat. Also, for a store that is not part of the simulators, besides a mention and a gift card, is the In-Front Burger Shack. Alrighty, general stuff is out of the way. Let's get specific, people.
Well, time to erase that forever.
A few months ago, Alchemy Labs posted a parody video of the show Severance with job simulator clips. Since this is, I think, just a fun video at the end of the day, it's in this theory section. However, lore is lore, and I researched a bit of the show to find the connection to the game. Severance is a show about employees at a company agreeing to do a procedure to split their memories from work and home to the point of them becoming two separate people in one. Obviously, this isn't canon. I spent the past 50 minutes talking about the world and made it clear that humans aren't supposed to work. At least work for some form of payment. Job Simulator is still a simulation, so that further proves the uncannonness of the video. However, let's have some fun for a second. If this was canon, the company who would do this is probably Giggler. Let's be real here. I'm going to tease the thought that Giggler is trying to trick humans into working again. I'm elaborating later in this section, so hold your horses. Honestly, the whole idea of splitting work and personal memories fits quite snugly here, especially with Giggler's and SRS Business Inc.'s sketchy track record. You can't have humans figuring out that they're working, so let's just make them not remember it. And it's all wrapped up in a pretty bow of a supposed simulation, the perfect crime. It also adds on to a later theory, teehee.
What am I?
I know someone is screaming at me in the comments, so allow me to address the most popular theory in Job Simulator, the model human theory. On paper, this theory is the most plausible. In fact, I like this theory a lot, but with the inclusion of Vacation Simulator, this theory falls apart. What is the model human theory? Let me give you a rundown. The model human theory is heavily based on the song You Are a Model Human, which can be played throughout the jobs in Job Simulator. It has lyrics like, do you think you're alive? Do you fear for your life? And do you feel lonely being the only human in a simulation of what it is to work a job? It also constantly calls the listener a model human, along with certain rules and tasks this model human has to follow, like not spending money on human food or deleting emails. I will admit this theory is really cool. If it wasn't obvious already, ideas and theories about finding deeper meanings in supposedly silly songs is my bread and butter. The deeper meaning in this is that you, the human, are quite literally a model human, like model as in robot human. You're a robot. That explains the lyrics of Do You Think You're Alive? The simulation isn't just a simulation, but it's training grounds for the human to be what a human is supposed to be back in the 1900s, and the actual experience is from the bots approaching the human and talking to them. You're stationed in one place, and the bots come to you with tasks and inconveniences. So you're basically a test subject being studied by your bot masters, doomed to be an experience for the rest of your lifetime. Do you fear for your life is in support of this, and also the bots being evil, which I will get to. Since the human is a robot human, that means you are the last human in this world. This explains why you yourself are just as clueless as the bots, because they were the only other beings in this universe. This is supported by the lyrics of Do You Feel Lonely? Bonus detail, the song telling you not to spend money on human food adds to the fact you're not human. Also, JobBot calling you one of us after solving the scavenger hunt supports that the human is implied to be at least partially a robot, so the theory has that going for it as well. All in all, awesome theory, a really cool idea on the surface if Job Simulator was the only game in the series, but it isn't. Vacation Simulator exists. In Vacation Simulator, you are the one seeking the bots and figuring out vacationing yourself. Sure, the bots are using you for metrics, but it's more self-guided as in you are a human and are placed into a reality where you have to be human. You had tasks to follow in Job Simulator, and the bots had a solid idea of what humans did to job and could push you in the right direction. Vacation Simulator doesn't have that. You're placed in this environment and Vacation Bot said vacation and left you to it. She doesn't know how or why humans vacation, so she wants you to show her and the Bureau why it's important. You are being examined throughout both simulations, I will agree on that. To me though, Vacation Sim feels more like a societal test, like what would the human do if they were given this for a vacation? It could still be possible theoretically, yes, but it doesn't fit as well as it used to with Vacation Simulator in the picture. That's why there's a newer version that I made up, maybe. I'm not sure how original I really am.
Today's subject is slavery.
This is a modern version of the model human theory, but instead of JobBot pulling the strings, it's Giggler, because I hate Giggler and JobBot would never do such a thing. The basic premise is you, the human, are put to gig in an actual resort run by Giggler and are working legally due to wordplay. You are gigging instead of jobbing. The simulation you're teleported to is just an actual place in Bot City Giggler owns. Giggler, and technically SRS Business Inc., are trying to reverse progress, but in a way where humans take all the low-paying jobs and bots do the fun stuff. There's some evidence to this, at least I think there is. Jobs are all replaced by bots. We know this. It's hammered into you every game. All humans have to enforce to retire as shown in the Human Uprising of 2027, and I don't think humans can legally work. Before you throw the job simulator at my face, the job simulator isn't a job. Surprise! You're not getting paid. In all actuality, you're paying to work. The job simulator is an experience, you know, like a museum. Giggler is the same story. However, you don't need to sign an NDA for JobBot, but you do for Giggler. These agreements say that the human cannot make claims of employment, and the agreement cannot be terminated even in the heat death of the universe happens. Why can't they claim they're employed? It's because it's illegal for a human to say they're employed, because that's the bot's job. They're the employed ones, not humans. All the bots in the DLC, or at the very least your original guides, Vacation Bot and Efficiency Bot, are not the happy campers you might expect them to be while on vacation. Even if humans did go back to being the jobbers, bots wouldn't know how to spend their free time. The hobbyists are still workers for the simulation at the end of the day. So that explains the Giggler gigployment. What about the part of the theory that talks about the gig taking place in reality? On the back of all job simulator bots, there is a branding saying Job Sim Inc., some numbers and a retail code. There's not much to decipher off these. JobBot doesn't have this branding himself, and I'm unsure in Tempbot's case. However, these are recurring in both simulations. For Vacation Simulator bots, the back says VacaSim Inc. in some binary. Translating this binary results in tie off. Do you get it? It's because they're on vacation. Their work tie is off. Since I am in theory territory, well, designated theory territory, I would like to give my own idea on why the bots have the VacaSim and JobSim branding on their backs. I view it as an add-on of the bot, and it's how they get into the simulation. Yeah, bots can travel free of simulations. They must have some sort of circuitry in them that makes them able to travel through the different realities. This could apply to the job simulator ones as well. So these box things are removable, and the staff who works at the simulations needs to wear them at certain times to be actually present and interact in the simulation. They don't wear headsets like humans after all. For more proof, GigBot, JobBot, and Tempbot don't have these logos. It makes sense why. They're not technically a part of the Vacation Simulator, they are visitors, and for GigBot's case, a special guest. You can say the same thing for JobBot. It's not just a guide thing as well, because Efficiency Bot shares the same back part as the rest of the bots. Vacation Bots is covered by a backpack that they even wear to vacation, but context clues leads us to the same for EB. This leads into the theory that Giggler and SRS Business Inc. are separate from the Bureau of Simulations, at least after 2060. Giggler runs on a separate code, or a different type of simulation than Vacation Simulator, a version where you don't need a special something to access it. Maybe it's not even a simulation at all. It's actually a ploy to get humans doing all the dirty work while the bots do the fun stuff. So why would Giggler want humans to work again? Why is it classified under an experience? It's simple. It's because it's easy. We laid out that the company's main focus isn't to educate per se, but more to engage the human into working more. That's why it only rates you 5 stars, for that dopamine rush humans get and to keep them busy. Capitalism or not, work still needs to be done. Bots still need to be hired, and if Giggler has to focus on employing the lower jobs, like gigs for contract workers, well, that spot's wasted on stuff anyone can do. And I do mean anyone. Humans are stupid, here for a good time, and will do anything you ask as long as you reward them in the end. They work like bots, but since they're not full-time and, as Giggler puts it, their own boss, they can leave the simulation and come back whenever. Boom! No payment, no need to waste bots on menial tasks, and humans are entertained. Everyone wins. If you must have a song to go with it, then take 5-star Golden Hour. It's clearly from the human's perspective, and with lyrics, is it all real or am I dreaming? You can make the same conclusion as the model human theory. And also, how Giggler manages to convince the human that it's all a simulation, hence why the chorus being, we're all living under a simulated sun, like the human is trying to convince themselves it's all fake. Would that make this theory called 5-star golden theory then?
Honestly, I'm feeling a little bit attacked. That makes sense. We were all just trying to kill you moments ago. Wait, I got it. Oh no, I'm gonna make everyone blow kisses.
There's also another theory I saw, but I'd like to give you a heads up that the writing team did debunk it. I just want to bring it up because many people think this, or some variation of this. The theory in question is that the human you play as is Derek Andrews, and infinite overtime is this internal torture for inconveniencing Cleanerbot. First off, I applaud your creativity, guys, but this is so out of pocket. It's not just this theory. Many theories and thumbnails I heard allude to the bots wanting to kill humans or planning on killing humans. Some even say that they have killed all the humans before. I saw one saying Jabot and Tempot single-handedly wiped out the entire human race except for the human you play as. If you must have a bot tweak out and murder someone, make it Gigbot. They're on the brink enough to fit the bill. I think people fail to understand that these bots don't hate humanity. Sure, some don't care much for or see much in humans. I mean, they're constantly referred to as primitive and dumb because, well, we're humans who laugh at fart reverbs, and their bots constantly hooked up to the internet and the world's knowledge. Even with this knowledge gap, the bots don't want us dead. They can't even figure out what torture is. I mean, why would they? These guys just want to work and help humans. Why else would they ban the use of knives and fire? Yes, for the safety of the bots, but also the safety of humans with each other. Throughout the game, the bots have never really shown or implied any violent thought against the human or the human race. The only sword is not archiving enough of the human race before the bots. Besides that, they weren't planning on killing humans. If they were planning on your demise, why are you able to mess up, not do, and even skip jobs? Even a company like Giggler allows you to skip as many gigs as you want under the benefit of the doubt. If humans were just toys for the bot overlords to play with, why would they put so much time and effort into researching humanity? Why would bots like VacationBot fight tooth and nail to prove vacations were valuable to humans in some way, shape, or metric? In 2050, the radio says that bot-human relationships have been doing better than before, and it's implied that they were doing quite well in the past. The bots didn't fire the humans in 2027, they retired them, aka they still got benefits even if they don't have their job anymore. There are even bots who specifically study humans and their culture called anthropologists. And they have hospitals for humans that are run by bots. Why does anyone think this is some AI uprising meant to eradicate human existence forever? They even have a universal credit system for humans because they can't work for money. Food is free due to the nutritional implants all humans have. Come on, people, think for a second. Yes, some human records have been lost to time, but there are bots out there trying to restore it and getting humans themselves involved in the process. They're not evil or inhumane, just dense. They're robots that can't fully comprehend emotion. Of course they're going to seem heartless. If I must show evidence in canon that could lead to this idea that all the bots resent humanity because the fact that AI equal bad are the quotes from the official website about the worry of a robot revolution, that's it. Job Simulator is not a dark game. It is not a silly game, but is actually sick and evil if you look into the lore. Trust me, I looked into as much lore as I possibly could. I scrounged through the game files, the devlogs from Alchemy Labs themselves, and even their fucking Discord server for any piece of lore I can get my grimy little hands on. These guys could never hurt a fly. All the bots in Vacation Simulator, absolute sweeties. The only bots I can see exploiting humans or wanting to kill them are Slazebot, the CEO of Giggler, and Banditbot on a bad day. Besides those guys, all the bots are relatively harmless. They can't even punch you for Polocus' sake. They don't have arms. Why does everyone think they're evil? Why am I putting so much time and effort into defending clankers who enjoy employment? What am I doing?
Okay, no buns. That's hip, no patties. Happening. Oh yeah, that's definitely the coolest meal I ever saw.
Realistically speaking, no. I could have spent these past 4 months so much more efficiently. Society has not thought about this game in years. It peaked in 2016, it peaked again in 2019, it died, and it sort of peaked in 2024, but mostly because of the job application meme going around. But when I say thought about, I mean more on a lore timeline than a 100% or a speedrun. No hate to the guys who do this, but the Job Simulator wiki is such a barren wasteland, it feels like someone has to lay it out for my 7 fans in chat. One of my reoccurring thoughts while writing this video was that it was all in vain. For a simulation game that quite literally is an actual simulation in canon, the line between real and a prop is extremely hard to draw. With 99% of the games taking place in the simulation world, it could all be a facade for the art of entertainment. Even if I try to convince myself our guy CoderBot has my back, that isn't that solid of proof. And I know this. As delusional as I claim I am aware of certain things, and one of those things is that it may canonically all just be a made-up simulation at the end of the day. If you think that way, good on you. If your take from Job Simulator is a funny robot game with edible soap, that's more time you can spend studying for your education than I am studying the lore of a 10-year-old VR game. I heard in an interview with the CEO of Alchemy Labs that a majority of the reasons behind things is the fact that it's a simulation built by bots who are high-key clueless on what humans did. So yeah, maybe this whole video was an hour wasted of your time, and everything the radios, the papers, and even the bots said were all just a part of an imaginary script to build an imaginary world in the simulation. But Has that ever stopped me? Job Simulator and the rest of the games are filled to the brink with details and love, something I can always appreciate in a game. If it wasn't meant to be thought about this hardly, why bother adding it in? I enjoy games by piecing together lore and ideas and connecting it all with a bright red string to signify my rapid unraveling sanity. Sure, it's a tad bit unhinged, but what's life without a few hops, skips, and jumps to wacky conclusions? These games are, at their core, sandbox simulations about working and vacationing. It can't go much deeper than that, and I'm very much aware there's only so far I can dig before I hit the plastic bottom of the supposed sandbox. There is a silver lining. It could not all just be a mindless circle in the job simulator space because there is established lore. And heck, maybe that established lore is this hour-long video. Or I got it completely wrong, and when I post this video, Owlchemy will come into my comments and say, all your theories are wrong, goodbye. If they did, I wouldn't hold it against them. To be honest, it would make me a bit numb. For a game like Job Simulator, and more specifically Vacation Simulator, it would feel silly to have this whole world and all these characters to not do anything about it, to just say it's a simulation and call it a night. The Human Uprising of 2027 was a real-world event. This happened in the real world. Why can't anything else I mentioned fall under that category too? This is not an attack on Owlchemy. I love their games, and I love the passion and bits of story in all their games. This is me just trying to justify myself looking into a silly game like Job Simulator, and considering that most of, if not all, of the research of this video was found by myself. That is 50 plus hours I've spent over the course of 4 months scratching my ass and listening to this radio. The wiki is barren, as I explained before. Way more work was put into this video than any of my Rayman videos because I was spoon-fed Rayman lore. I'm talking silver plates and platinum utensils. The folks at RayWiki made my life so much easier. So now I'm faced with dilemma. Did anything I document over the course of late October to January mean anything in the long run if the final take for this lore is it was all just a simulation? I mean, you would assume so, because everything in the simulation could be fun jabs at society being run by robots with no deeper meaning whatsoever. Jobbot could be lying to me this whole time. Is anything even real at this point? Hours upon days upon months I've spent looking into this stupid robot game, and it all could just be debunked by a single comment, "You're overthinking it, lol." But why does it matter? Who cares if everything I said means nothing in canon? It's there, isn't it? I did not write, record, and edit 15,000 words just for some guy in the comments to go, "It's not that deep." It's not, and I think that's the beauty of Job Simulator. Not because of the pages of lore or history of the companies shown, it's the fact that it's a funny game where you can job and vacation with no consequences. Though you guys may have to address robot reproduction soon. Bye! Hi, this is the first time I'm doing an actual outro. This video is so much bigger than what I normally make, so I feel like it deserves something like this. I'm not sure if I'll ever make an hour-long video again in the near future, but hey, maybe if this video takes off, I'll consider it. For the fans out there, I'm not completely done with Rayman, as I still have video ideas for him. I'm just taking a small detour to talk about silly robots. Honestly, the main reason for this last bit is just to thank people. For such a big video, a lot of people helped me out with it, and I want to spread some positivity. I'd like to thank Owlchemy for making these banger of games, even if they lucked inside job behind a $1,500 price tag. You should check out Dimensional Double Shift. It's free, it's like Job Simulator, and it's on the Meta Store from my memory. And Owlchemy, if you're watching this and need a voice actor for the third game, hit me up. I'll buy a better mic for you. Or, you know, restock the merch, please. That'd make me happy. My script editor, Lauren, deserves a shout out for reading over my script as a Job Simulator fandom veteran. They helped me snag some screenshots and facts from the Discord server I couldn't find and was genuinely really supportive. On that topic, I want to thank the Job Vacation Sim fan server for being the only outlet of my madness. They also helped with general trivia and lore I missed in the games. They're all very cool people, and I'm happy they enjoyed this deep dive. Hopefully. And the other people who had to deal with my madness, I would like to thank my family for some of the gameplay used. They have channels of their own if you're interested. Thank you, Dad, for letting me watch you play Job Simulator so gently, and thank you, Pasta and Koi, for indulging into my insanity by buying me the head/slash games and listening to me ramble. I want to blame my friends Riley, Pink, and Sunny for actually causing this. You guys are the reason I even got into Job Simulator and put this curse on me. I love the games, I just don't love the lack of merchandise available. Why'd you let me play on your guys' VRs? You may have changed the course of history and awoken a beast inside me. I guess I can also blame my one classmate who recognized my job simulator art and changed some sort of wiring in my brain. Along with them, thank you everyone else in my friend Discord server for providing feedback on different aspects of my video. I appreciate your guys' use of democracy and listening ears. Job bless America. Finally, I'd like to thank you, the viewer. As of writing this, my dinky little channel has a little over 1,400 subscribers and an average view count of 150. So the fact you clicked on my video and watched to the end warms my heart. I don't know if you were paying attention, but I appreciate your watch time. I emotion you. Hey, if you stuck around this long, you might as well like and subscribe, right? Maybe leave a comment? Wouldn't that be neat? I don't really know how to end an actual outro, so I guess follow me on my other socials. I got basically everything, and if you want a commission from me, they're open. DM me anywhere for the details. Enough being sappy. I wish you all a happy January, or February now, because January is basically over.